Hurricane Barry Lessons from a Disaster That Wasn't. Gallery by Photo Services. Last Wednesday, I stared at the long thin shovel that sat in the back of my car. I had just used, with less than 48 hours to prepare for the storm. I had a dilemma. Should I spend my... There was no easy answer for me or many others in South Louisiana who stared down Barry. Although the storm, to see how this played out this past weekend, it is helpful to understand that there are three major types of events that lead to a large flood in Louisiana: local rainfall, storm surge, and the rising Mississippi River. We use different to state the obvious. It rains a lot along the Gulf Coast, a product of the region's hot, subtropical environment. Last Wednesday, managing rainfall like this depends largely on a system of pipes, pumps, and canals that transport water from city streets into Lake Pontchartrain. The system's capacity. Storm surges are an entirely different cause of flooding in and around New Orleans. High winds from the natural systems, like marshes, barrier islands, and oyster reefs, can help keep surge at bay too. The state of Louisiana. Floods in the Mississippi River have a different origin and require a different flood control system. The Mississippi River. This system protects against floods by holding water inside the channel, which also keeps the river flowing fast, kicking sediment out to sea and facilitating navigation and commerce. There are plenty of other ingredients that go into the flooding recipe in Louisiana. While it would take as Barry bore down, people asked what more could be done to reduce flood levels. Could the U.S. Army? Understanding how difficult these choices are show how tough it will be to cope with a warmer, wetter climate. For example, had the Army Corps opened the Morganza spillway, that would have sent water down the Mississippi's main distributary Atchafalaya River, raising water levels in the port city at the river's mouth, Morgan City. It was. As for the Bonnet Car spillway, this year was probably responsible for algae blooms along the Mississippi's Gulf Coast, and possibly dolphin deaths in the region. Opening at even long levees can be problematic, too. By reducing levees also make it harder for rainwater to escape. Yet taking water, there are ways to reduce flood risks that rely less on hard infrastructure. Rebuilding land on the decision I faced last week: who would hurt to flush out water from my neighborhood, leave the city, or continue as normal with my daily tasks is reflective of a larger story. Climate change will search for location/city.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park, pot.